Hey everyone, and welcome to section 5 of my Kontakt tutorials. This video and the next one, 5.1, we'll be looking at something called key switching. This essentially makes the instrument that you've built a lot more playable. You can take it on stage and play a lot easier on there. A little bit about key switching. It's largely the same as velocity switching. However, instead of switching between two sounds on the key map editor, you can switch between two different groups. So for example, you can have a wind instrument on one group and a wind instrument with vibrato on another group, and just switch between the two really simply just by pressing one key, instead of having to go and open up another instrument and so on and so forth. So for this tutorial, I'm gonna, just two random instruments that obviously you wouldn't use in a live setting, but it'll demonstrate the point. So as you can see, I've started off again with a default instrument. Just going to bring up the volume on here, make it a bit clearer for you. And I'm going to start off by opening the mapping editor again, key map window. Now I've got some flute samples here, and just for time's sake, I'm going to just drag in one sample. There you go, you can hear it now. Just drag in one sample and bring it in over the octave. As you can see, the sample was recorded at the pitch of C4, which, if I've got this right, 1, 2, 3, there we go. Same sample I used for looping. So again, we're going to have to go into the wave editor and trim it up a bit, but that's not difficult, because there we go, it's done. There we go. I'm not going to faff around with one-shot triggering or anything like that. This is purely just to show you switching between different groups just using one key. So for now, I'm going to open up the group editor, which is here, and double click to rename this one flute. Again, highlighting that fact of housekeeping within software. The clearer you make it, the easier and quicker it is to work your way around. So I'm just going to create another group. I'm going to call this one organ. There we go. And surprise, surprise, I'm going to bring in an organ sound. But firstly, I'm going to turn off edit all groups, and I'm going to switch on selected groups only, just so I can see what I'm doing. Now somewhere in here I have, there we go, Kontakt 5 in the demo content, and there we have some organ samples. I'm going to use the B4 blues samples, they're just the ones that come with it. If I'm right in saying, yeah, shut up. Yeah, that's near enough the same tone. So I'm just going to bring this one over onto the key map editor in the same position as the flute and drag it out to the octave again. Now if I play that, you can hear that both are playing at the same time, which we don't want. So this is where I'm going to start coming back to our group start options that we looked at when we were working with snare drum hits and trying to get those into a round robin. So I'm going to come back to flute, and I'm going to come down to my group start options here, click on the box that says always. Now, whereas before we went for cycle round robin, this time we're going to go to start on key. Now, because my keyboard is working on C1 there, I can set the key C1 to change to this sample. I can do that by coming in here and just changing C0 to C1 and doing the same here. This feature also allows you to use a range of keys across the keyboard, but as long as it's a key that's not being used for anything else, then you can generally use anything. I'm just sticking to C1 because it's the furthest away from it. What I will do at this point though is open up the virtual keyboard here. This just shows you, that's not what I wanted, shows you here that C1 is highlighted red because that's the start key, whereas everything else is there where it's playing. So for the organ, I'm going to click on organ, down to the group start options, click on the box that says always, and again start on key. Now I've already got C1, and this has put it on C0, which I can't get to on my keyboard without having to drop the octave. So I want to put the organ to start on D1. So when the key of D1 is pressed, you can see there that it's highlighted red as well. So if I press C1, which you can see there is pressed, I've got the flute sound. If I press D1, which you can see has been pressed there, should have the organ sound. There we go. That is it for the key switching. As you can see, you can have however many groups you want set up over one octave range or one key range, and just have a series of keys that switch between the two. It just makes the playability of your instrument a lot easier. It's a lot easier to find your way around and have some fun with it. So I shall leave it there for this session. The next session, the next video that I do, will be looking at doing the same thing but with the use of a mod wheel. It's another way of doing it. It frees up more keys. If you've got more octave range and you haven't got a spare key, then you can use the mod wheel for it. So we'll come back to that for the next video, but hope this helps. Thanks a lot. See ya.